Welcome to Compass Points, the weekly podcast for CompassKnox.com. CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more.
Welcome to Compass Points, a podcast about Knoxville and Knox County government, politics, business, education, a few other things whenever we feel like it's important, and whatever it grabs our attention, we get interested in, we'll report that too. I'm Scott Barker, the editor of Compass, which is a subscription-based website and newsletter where we report on all these topics and more. You can find us at CompassKnox.com. I'm joined today by Compass co-founder, my partner in crime, Jesse Mayshark. Welcome, Jesse.
Thanks. Happy to be here again.
Great. How you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. It's Friday, and that's always good for me.
There you go. Me too. And yes, it is Friday. We are recording this in the opulent studios of Barbarian Productions. Lord Seth Barber is our ruler here. He cracks the whip on us, and he is also, as the jack of all trades of the show, the purveyor of the 3-day-old weather forecast. Seth, what is the 3-day-old weather report?
Looking through my gold-plated window frames, I see a beautiful day outside. It's been cooling off a little bit, and that's nice. I'm excited for the break in the heat, and it's supposed to be continuing to trend that direction right into this football season, which, those of us out there that are excited about football, it's football time.
Yep.
I can't finish that phrase. I think that's trademarked.
It probably is. Well, and that institution begins its season this coming Saturday. So there we go. I'm
always excited that go. In my social feeds, I follow the Pride of the Southland band, and they did their final rehearsal where they actually do the march to the stadium and do a practice at the stadium, and that's always that's always the cue for me to start getting really excited, because that band is one of the best things that ever happened to me. I love UT band.
That's right. You wore the ugly uniform back in the day.
I did, and they're the old version of them that were like full wool coats and stuff like that. They've got them upgraded since, and they're nice, lightweight, and much more comfortable in this August kickoffs where we were out there cooking.
And for our listeners out there who are already typing emails to me lambasting me for saying the uniforms are ugly, then I apologize.
Well,
I'll just go ahead and get it out of the way. Apologize.
If you want to compare,
my wardrobe is pretty ugly too. So.
I was just say, if you want to compare it to the to that school that you cheer for's band uniforms, I think we win locally in a style show.
I'm not going to argue about that. Anyway, what we are actually here to talk about is a recap of last week's news in Knoxville and Knox County, and a look ahead to next week. One of the things we'll talk about is John Rose. We sat down and talked with him. If you don't know who John Rose is, you are in good company, and we'll tell you why. We'll also take a look at early voting in the city election, which ended on Thursday, and look forward to Election Day on Tuesday of this week. Also on County Commission news, Commissioner Larson J. Opted to delay consideration of his proposal to repeal the wheel tax. That will be determined in the spring when they do the regular budget discussions. We'll talk about what the repeal entails and why he decided to pull it for now. The big news of the week was Chilhowie Park. City Council considered two major initiatives that would transform Chilhowie Park, which is in East Knoxville, as most of our listeners would know. The Muse Knoxville, which is the Children's Activity Museum there on the park site, will move across the the parking lot to the Jacob Building, and we'll talk about that, and a proposal to sell a portion of Chilhowie Park land to Emerald Youth Foundation for a youth sports and activity center was postponed in the face of withering opposition. It wasn't defeated, it was postponed, and we will begin by talking about that. As we mentioned last week, the city has proposed selling a 12.7 acre parcel, which is the old Midway site for the fair, Tennessee Valley Fair. It is on the south side of Magnolia Avenue. Magnolia kind of divides this area. It's not part of the main part of Chilhowie Park, what most people think of as Chilhowie Park. It's on the south side. It's a basically unused parcel that's fenced off. It has been in recent years, since it was no longer the Midway, the Tennessee Valley Fair has used it as kind of a staging area. The carnies stay there, in their RVs, and they have, kind of a staging area there. But other than that, it does not get used for the most, I shouldn't say for the most part. It doesn't get used other than that. So the city decided they were going to sell that. They had talked to people in the community. They talked to Emerald Youth Foundation. They wanted to, Emerald Youth Foundation and members of the Burlington community they talked to wanted to them to build a youth center similar to the Haslam Sansom facility in Lonsdale, which is a very popular area for inner city youth sports and other activities. The Emerald Youth was going to do something very similar with this space. What the city did was way back. This kind of effort goes back to 2022. They talked to the people in the community, talked to Emerald Youth. They talked to the city, went back and forth. Emerald Youth engaged some leaders in the Burlington and East Knoxville areas to try to gauge the local support for such a thing. They got Reverend Harold Middlebrook. They got Cynthia Finch, who runs a health nonprofit. They got former Mayor Daniel Brown. All these people to try to see what kind of gauge what people in the Burlington area wanted. And Burlington, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the geography of East Knoxville, Burlington is the business and residential community. Used to be Thriving, which is just across Magnolia Avenue from Chilhowie Park. The land that Emerald wants to use is essentially part of the Burlington community. So the city issued a request for proposal in July of last year, and Emerald Youth, and it was out to everybody. This is one of the things that people complained about, but it was out to anybody. Anybody could make a proposal on this, although they would have had to include sports fields, gymnasiums, educational space, and a health clinic.
Right. The RFP arguably was written so that it very neatly matched what Emerald Youth wanted to do.
Yeah, and it was. They did talk to Emerald Youth before this. Now, one of the things I did look up on this is what how legal that was. It is. It actually is. It does kind of smell a little bit, but it's legal. The Municipal Technical Advisory Service has said that you can do that. I mean, there are a lot of RFPs that go out, and a lot of them, or some of them, will deal with things that the government entity that issues the RFP has no clue about. they don't know what is needed and what is not. So that's not uncommon for them to do that. The big thing is the RFP is open to anyone to respond to, and they did. Emerald was the only entity to respond. There was another element to this that we'll get to in a minute, which was housing. But the Emerald was the only entity that responded. They negotiated for close to a year, and that's what you do. The RFP goes out, the proposal comes back in, you pick the best one, and then you negotiate the actual deal. And over the past year, they've been doing that. That came up to city council last week, and to put it mildly, people freaked out.
Well, and so, and of course, you have been covering this all along. So you were aware that, okay, this is out there. The RFP has been issued. There was one respondent. They are presumably talking to them about it. But what I saw on social media, and I think what you heard from council members this week, was that even if people were sort of generally aware that this process was out there being worked on and talked about, there were a lot of people who really did not know that, oh, this is happening right now, until the agenda for the city council meeting came out like 5 days before the meeting.
Yeah, we reported on the intent to do this back in July of last year. We reported that Emerald was interested. We reported that Emerald responded, the only ones. The News Sentinel also did at least one story on that. Others may have as well, other outlets. So it was reported. One of the things that happens in something like this, and as I said, they negotiated this for close to a year, is that once those negotiations begin with the preferred developer, the developer that is selected, then everything's confidential. There is no news. So there was admittedly there was a fallow period there where there wasn't a whole lot of news, but Compass subscribers knew, or at least had the opportunity to know what was going on there a year ago. City council members certainly knew that this was going on on some level. One of the things we found out at the Tuesday meeting is they did not get a heads up that it was coming up just this last week, and that they're on their agenda until very, very late. In fact, it came out on the Tuesday before the meeting, which is exactly 1 week ahead of the meeting where the council members get their preliminary agendas. It was on that. We reported on it then too. So some may not have even known about it until we reported on it that it was going to be on their agenda. And of course, the people in the public who didn't know this was going on and didn't like it started flooding them with calls and emails and all. And they were a little bit. Several of them at Tuesday's meeting said they felt a little blindsided by this. The opposition is interesting. It's on several fronts. There are people who just don't think the city ought to be selling the property. They think it is parkland that needs to be saved. One thing that, and this is, had this conversation with many people. Jesse, you have too. Chilhowie Park is not technically a park. Chilhowie, it is, the official name is Chilhowie Park and Exhibition Center. It is managed not by the Parks and Recreation Department. It is managed by the same private entity, private firm that manages the Civic Auditorium and Coliseum and the Convention Center. It is considered an event venue, not a park per se. However, that said, everybody thinks of it as a park. And
it does function, especially the space north of Magnolia, the big part of Chilhowie Park that everybody thinks of as Chilhowie Park. I mean, it is an event venue, the Jacob Building, which we're going to talk about in a second with
Yeah.
the Muse, is there. It hosts events. But most of that area is open to the public to walk in. There's a playground there. There are park amenities there. So it's very logical that most people would see it and think of it as a park. And, it is a park, but also just in this legal sense, which gets into some restrictions on how you can use the land and that kind of thing. It's not a park, and it has, in fact, not been a park for a long time. One thing that I think people forget, I know there are people in the community there who get really mad whenever anybody tries to make this technical distinction, say, well, it's not technically a park, because it sounds like you're kind of trying to hide something or something.
Yeah.
I think one thing for people to keep in mind is the fact that it's not a park is exactly why back more than about 10 years ago or so, when the city was fighting with local gun rights advocates who were outraged that the Tennessee Valley Fair was not allowing people to bring guns into the fair, the legal argument that the city was successfully able to make there was that, because there's a state law, as people might remember, it's a state law that says that you can't restrict people bringing guns into city parks. But because this is not a park, it's not managed as a park, it's not designated as a park by the city, that's why the city was actually able to say, no, you can't bring guns in the Tennessee Valley Fair. So people who are, upset about that nomenclature, say you're calling it not a park, should also remember that it not being a park is exactly what has allowed the fair and other events there to restrict people bringing guns into it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there are trade-offs, and that's one of them. Anyway, but like I said, people look at it as a park, and so people are very upset about that. There are people who are upset that it's going to a religious, faith-based organization, which Emerald Youth Foundation is unapologetically religious. They are upset because they think that if you are going to sell it, they're not asking enough. The sale price is $913,518, just shy of $1 million for the 12.7 acres. A lot of people think that is way below market value. The city has had it appraised. One of the things, and this is one of those communication things that the city has not done very well, because they've they'll tell you if you ask about it, which I have, is that this property has a large stormwater pipe running underneath it. That if you own this property, you got to move that thing in order to develop it. So that alone drops the value of the property. What the city's options would be if they sell it. Like I said, there are a lot of people who don't think they should sell it at all, but if they do sell it, they have an option. They can go ahead and remove and relocate that pipe, which would cost money from the general fund, the tax money. It would cost tax money to do that, and it would increase the value of the property. It would be more valuable because it would be easier for a new owner to develop it. The other option, which is the one they chose to do, is to sell it as is. So the lower appraisal of the property is the market value of it. They're going to sell it as is, and it will be up to Emerald, if this goes through eventually, it would be up to Emerald to do the actual work of and pay for the actual work of moving it. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more complicated. The city said that it will take the sale price, that nearly $1 million, and about half of it is the estimated cost of relocating the pipe, and that the city would reimburse Emerald for that. And so people say, well, they're paying for it anyway. Well, one of the things is they pay for it up front before they sell it, if the sale doesn't go through, then they spent $500,000 on a project that wasn't needed because it's not needed from an engineering standpoint. From an engineering standpoint, that pipe can stay right where it is and everything's fine. So this way they're using the sale price of the new revenue from the sale of the property to pay for the relocation of the pipe, not taxpayer supplied dollars in the general fund. So or a bond issue. They don't have to borrow money for it either. That is it has been a sticking point. Is one of those it is a little confusing, for people, and should be. It's not just a straightforward thing, but few things in life are that straightforward. Anyway, all this opposition came up. Mentioned that it was a faith-based organization. A lot of people concerned about Emerald Youth Foundation excluding people who are not Christians from using their facility. I talked to Emerald people. I've talked to people who use the facility in Lonsdale that Emerald runs. Yes, they do their own programs there, and yes, those are for people who go through their programs. But they also do programs for anyone else who wants to use the ball fields or the gymnasiums or the community space. And also, when they don't have an official program going on, people in the community can use it. If you can go, you can do this in Lonsdale, and they have said you'd be able to do this in East Knoxville. If you've got several kids who want to go, take a soccer ball around and kick over to the field and kick it around and just have fun, they can. They can do that. People can go there and walk. People can presumably go to the gym and play ball if they want. And it's that kind of thing. It is very open, and it's one of the things that the city's RFP requires is that it be accessible to the general public. So that is, and I've also been told by people that use that they don't. There's not really a religious litmus test for using the facility. It doesn't matter what your faith is. You can go and participate in their programs and all. And I take them at their word. I assume that is the case, but nonetheless, people are still concerned that this somehow violates the principle of separation of church and state. So that's an objection too. Anyway, all these objections bubbled up last Tuesday, and so much so that the one council member who was really involved in this and knew real details on what was going on was Gwen McKenzie, who it's quite appropriate for that because she represents East Knoxville, and she knew about it. She basically sponsored this. The other council members, as we said, were kind of in the dark until about the timing before this happened. If a council member who didn't know that this was going to happen at some point wasn't doing their job, because it was very much open that it was going to happen eventually. But McKenzie read the room. Even though the room was filled with the Emerald Youth Foundation supporters wearing green, they brought in a busload of kids. They really did have a big show of support. But she read the room, and I think that she decided, well, let's wait. And so she moved to delay consideration of this for another 2 weeks, and in the meantime, scheduled a public town hall to give people a chance to find out more about the project, talk about the project. That it was kind of interesting. She initially announced at the city council meeting that it was going to be this coming Tuesday, which my jaw hit the floor. Actually, I got a little angry actually, because that's election day, and we're going to be covering the election that night. So, then 2 days later, Mackenzie sent out notice that she didn't think about it being election day, and has rescheduled. It is going to be.
She's not running this year, so
she's not running this year. But everybody else is going to be voting or watching the, waiting on the return.
I mean, there's a reason it might not have been top of her mind.
Oh yeah, that's true. But it is going to be on Monday at 6:00. It will be at a place I haven't been before, Los Portales Event Center in East Knoxville. It's on Asheville Highway. We'll talk about. We'll mention that again later in the show when we talk about next week's stuff. But anyway, that will give people an opportunity to find out more about the project. It is a good chunk of a highly visible land owned by the city that they are proposing to sell. As we all know, once you sell land, you don't get it back. So so that sale is still very much up in the air. We will, of course, be following. We'll be now that it's not on election night. We'll probably be at the Monday town hall, and we will, of course, cover the action at City Council 2 weeks in a week on September 2nd. So.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of public meeting Mackenzie has on Monday, because if this is just a meeting to hear information about this proposal and this project, that might not meet the expectations and demands of a lot of people in the community, because it sounded like what a lot of the opponents to this were saying was not just, oh, we need to know more about this proposal. It was, we don't like this idea, and we want to talk more broadly about what kinds of things we as a community and as a city might want to see in that space. And so if the meeting is just kind of, and we've been to different kinds of public meetings, if the meeting is kind of fenced into, well, here's the proposal, ask us any questions about it you want, that's going to be one kind of meeting. And that by itself, I think, would not satisfy a lot of the voices that were there on Tuesday. And so, because it sounded like what a lot of people want is, let's have a real talk about the actual best and possible uses of this beyond just, do we sell it to Emerald Youth or not?
I guarantee you, after covering the meeting last Tuesday, that if this is just here's what Emerald is going to do, take it or leave it. If it's that, then it's not going to fly. There'll be torches and pitchforks. So it does. If people are afforded the opportunity to engage and to talk about what they want as well, that will go a long way. Now, it's like anything else. If they express what they want and the city moves ahead and does it anyway, then they'll
which
be mad
is
about
clearly
that.
The city's preference. It's also worth noting that you talked about Emerald supporters wearing green. Mayor India Kincannon got some grief from the opponents to the proposal for wearing green herself. She wore an emerald green dress, which she acknowledged was a show of her own support for the project and for Emerald. And of course, there were some people who thought that was, sort of an inappropriate lobbying by the mayor. Not that it was a secret that the administration supports this proposal. They are the ones making the proposal. So
obviously, the administration did support it. Yes, she did wear the green dress. She also got quite a bit of flack for one of the comments she made during the discussion of this proposal. She said that one of the reasons she was 100% behind it because somebody had mentioned the green dress, one of the members of the public, and she said, "Yeah, I'm wearing a green dress. I support, and I'm wearing it in support of Emerald. I'm 100% behind this." And then she said, "This aligns with my vision for Chilhowie Park and my vision for East Knoxville." That struck people the wrong way because they were basically saying, "Hey, this needs to be our vision for East Knoxville and our vision for Chilhowie Park," and they crucified her on social media.
First person plural, not first person singular.
Right. It's not the mayor's vision. It should be the community's vision. She acknowledged, contacted her, and she got back with me. She acknowledged that it was tone deaf and that she shouldn't have phrased it that way, that this was it was indeed a reflection of community sentiment that was about what Chilhowie Park could look like, dating back to the strategic plan that was developed with public input in 2019, plus the outreach that, whether you agree with whether it was sufficient or not, the outreach that that Emerald Youth did in the Burlington community. One of the problems with that that a lot of people brought up is that was, even if it was just in the Burlington community, the greater East Knoxville community wasn't engaged, and obviously the whole city at large wasn't either. So, but Kincannon basically said, "Yeah, I shouldn't have said it that way. It is the community. It is the community's vision as reflected by the public input that we have had." So she got very different public input on Tuesday, and may again this coming Monday, and again next Tuesday. She did say she would be at that meeting on Monday. So anyway, that's only half of what happened with Chilhowie Park last Tuesday. The other half was the proposal. We also have talked about that. We talked about it last week when after it was announced, the Muse Knoxville, which currently occupies a very small, kind of cramped 10,000 square foot building on the west side of Chilhowie Park, is going to lease the Jacob Building, which is what the building everyone associates with Chilhowie Park, $57,000 exhibition center.
$50,000 square foot.
I'm sorry, 50. What I say?
Dollar.
Oh yeah.
It's probably worth more than $50,000.
Worth more than $57,000. It is 57,000 square feet, 5 times larger than the Muse space is currently. This will be the science museum that Jim Clayton, Clayton Homes founder, was going to build at the Public Safety Center site next to the Civic Coliseum and Auditorium. He decided not to build it. He instead gave $25 million to Muse Knoxville, which is enabling them to raise more money to fund the renovations needed in the Jacob Building to turn it into a state-of-the-art, interactive children's science museum. It will enable them to serve a lot more people. Right now, they're kind of restricted to elementary school age children. This will enable them to host events for middle school and high school age students. It also, obviously, they will have more space for more exhibits and classroom space and all of that good stuff. So they're going to spend $50 million on that renovation. Of course, and they are going to be required to stay there for 20 years at least, and do that there. So the Jacob Building will become and this was approved by City Council. City Council voted 8-1 to approve this. It is so that's going to happen. The one obvious ramification of this is that the Tennessee Valley Fair will not be able to use the Jacob Building in the future. They do have a contract for the park where they've been for over 100 years. At least the fair has been there over 100 years. They do have a contract through 2026, so doesn't affect the fair this year, doesn't affect the fair next year. After that, if the fair stays, which has been, we'll talk about that a little bit too. Under any new contract, the city they won't have the Jacob Building to use right now. It's used for a variety of things with robotics and some 4-H events. They also is one of the big things that's there is they have vendor space in there, which is a big revenue source for the fair. It's close to $500 per booth for the duration of the fair. It's cheaper if you do fewer days,
and it's the major indoor exhibition space at the park, because they do, they have their barns where they do the sort of poultry and livestock and whatever. But if you're looking for a space that's got electricity and lights and air conditioning and bathrooms and all of that, the Jacob Building has been that space for the fair.
And so that won't be the case beginning in 2027. So that'll be when Muse Knoxville is renovating the building. They're hoping to open, I believe, by 2028, the fall. But the fair will have to find a different thing. David Brace, the chief of staff to Mayor Kincannon, said, we're happy to work with the fair. They did. I mean, like I said previously, the fair has used the Emerald site for setting up and for their carnies and stuff, and the city has offered the Knoxville Fire Department training facility, which is on the other side of the interstate, accessible by Prosser Road. It's really close as the crow flies. It's just right on the other side of the interstate.
Kind of hard to get to, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to go at Prosser Road and across, but it's not too far, but it is a little bit further than just walking through a tunnel underneath Magnolia Avenue, which is all they have to do now. But they've offered that space. There could be in the future they could use the current Muse building for some of that. Of course, that's the whole reason the Muse is moving is because the Jacob Building is a lot larger. It's 1/5 of the space of the Jacob Building, but they could use that for stuff. They could use tents. They could use there are other options that they said that they would speak with the fair about. Scott Sukomsky, who is whose family's run the fair for decades. He is the general manager of the fair. It's kind of this. Essentially, I mean, they've got a board of directors, a family-run nonprofit that runs the fair. He has said that he's been excluded from a lot of these conversations and wants to be included. He's not real happy with the current contract that they've got now, which expires at the end of next year, and he's not real happy about the losing the Jacob Building in the future. And
the fair does not pay any rent.
Yeah, right? That's one of the you pull back a little bit on this. One of the things the city has said that they want to do with Chilhowee Park and is consistent with this master plan that was developed with public input in 2019 is that they want to make it more of a year-round destination. Currently, I mean, most people, rightly so, associate Chilhowee Park with the fair. But the fair only lasts for 10 days. They've got a couple of days of setup beforehand, a couple of days of tear down afterwards, but it's only open to the public for 10 days. And so the other 355 days of the year, Chilhowee Park isn't is very much underutilized. Other than the zoo and the Muse, it's underutilized.
And people walking through the park and walking by the lake and all of that. But in terms of events, it's not really
even that it's not utilized as much as it should be, because quite frankly, the bulk of the park is a parking lot.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, you've got a real pretty little lake right there in the middle of the parking lot. And a gazebo, right in the middle of a parking lot.
A historic gazebo.
But
yes. Right.
But
point well taken.
Isolated in the middle of a parking lot, nonetheless. They the fair is only 10 days, so they aren't. I don't think they're trying to kick the fair out, which a lot of people have.
I mean, not exactly.
They're not necessarily. I don't think they'd be heartbroken if it left.
Yeah.
They're not trying to kick the fair out necessarily, as much as they are not going to prioritize the fair. That's obvious.
I think this has been really about a decade-long process, because these conversations were going on when I worked at the city, which is like almost a decade ago at this point. There has been a sort of slow motion move on behalf of multiple city administrations to, in thinking about the future of Chilhowie Park, right, as you say, to try to break away from prioritizing the fair and to say that we shouldn't let the use of this large and potentially valuable public amenity be dictated by a private organization that only uses it for 10 days a year. That conversation, and I think that the challenge that has come up again and again, which reflects what you were just talking about with Scott Sukomsky, is that the overall position of the fair has kind of been, we kind of don't want anything to change.
Right.
And the overall position of the city has been, well, we kind of do want things to change. And so this has been coming for quite a while. And I do think that there's been talk about, well, maybe, there's been talk from the city to the fair saying, have you looked at other places? Have you thought about other potential things you could do?
Two things here. Yeah. In fact, Kincannon was explicitly saying, we're not going to prioritize the fair. She said, we don't want the tail wagging the dog. When discussion went that way at the city council meeting, because the discussion at the city council meeting veered away from what Muse Knoxville is wanting to do with the Jacob Building to the future of the fair. But the city has all the leverage in this, because, and a lot of people may not realize this, the Tennessee Valley Fair does not pay a dime for the use of the space in Chilhowie Park. It doesn't pay for the Jacob Building. It doesn't pay for the using the entire parking lot. It doesn't pay for any of that. They do have to pay their utilities, which they charge to their vendors. So it is in their revenues already to pay for the utilities, but they don't pay anything. So the city's got all the leverage there. They can say, and they may, if it push comes to shove, they may end up saying. Of course, it doesn't. The Muse thing's a done deal, but they can say, we're going to use the Jacob Building the way we want to. First of all, it's our building. Second of all, you don't even pay rent, and I don't know that. For all I know, that conversation's happened, but according to Sukomsky, he didn't even know that it was going to go on. So he's been left out of the loop altogether. And you mentioned looking at another space. The fair is looking at other spaces. They are, Sukomsky told Knox County Commission several months ago that he has been looking, along with the county and the University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture. They're all looking for space. It's a UTIA, would be a UTIA space that they're looking for in Knox County for some sort of agricultural center. There are agricultural centers. Dwight Vandevate, the chief of staff to Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, talked about one in Middle Tennessee, and it escapes me at the moment which county it's in, but it's a really nice agricultural center that's there. UTIA is looking for a similar deal here in Knox County. They apparently been talking to the fair about using it as essentially fairgrounds. If that happens, that would, and Vandevey, I talked to Vandevey, he said, well, it makes a lot of sense. It would return the fair to its agricultural roots, because, 100 years ago, Chilhowie Park was at the very edge of the city. Now it's part of the inner city. It's the city's grown around it, and it is not by any stretch of the imagination in an agricultural area, which is what you think of as fairs. So they are looking for space. They haven't found any yet, and even if they do, it might take several years for that property to be developed to the point the fair could use it. And of course, who knows? UTIA may charge them rent for using it that the city doesn't charge. So, the one thing that I think that is certain is the fair is, if it stays in Chilhowie Park over the long term, it will have to evolve. It will have to change, and obviously they're going to have to find different accommodations for their vendors and the activities that go on in the Jacob Building. But that whole conversation ended up getting really some fireworks there too. There weren't as many people there. There wasn't as much opposition from the general public to this as there was to the Chilhowie Park or the Emerald Youth Foundation proposal. But Councilwoman Amelia Parker, a big supporter of the fair, she spent some time kind of waxing nostalgic about going to Chilhowie Park as a kid, and talking about the fair and how she was thinking the city is pulling the plug on the fair, and like you said, maybe like I said, I don't think they cry too much if the fair decided to leave. The city, I think they're a little skeptical of the economic impact the fair has, because everything's pretty self-contained there. The people who visit the fair usually go home at night.
The fair is absolutely crucial to the local fried food economy.
Yes. And
you mean the local trailers that they put in the fair where you buy the fried food from?
But
I don't know how many barrels of cooking oil get sold every year to fuel the fair.
Yeah, there is a grease recycling facility nearby. So
one of the advantages.
Yeah. Now the actual, probably the people who would be hurt the most if the fair left, first of all, be the people who if it goes somewhere out in Knox County. Everybody who goes to the fair will have to drive a little bit farther if you live in the city. But the people who would really be harmed economically are the people who live near the fair, who charge lots of money for people to park in their driveways and their yards.
The residences and the businesses, a bunch of those businesses along Magnolia Avenue.
Yeah.
I mean, they all have somebody out there with a little chair and a $20 to park here.
Yeah, so that's the real. They're the ones who'll take the brunt of the an economic blow if the fair does leave. Yeah. Anyway, but Parker was angry there, and then she turned her anger on Brace. And one of the things that I'd not seen before, she got really angry. This
is David Brace.
David Brace. I mentioned Brace earlier. If his name is not as familiar, it's because he does work a little bit more behind the scenes than most people do. But he is Kincannon's chief of staff. He is the kind of point person on the things to do with the park, and because it's not under Parks and Recreation, and it's not Cheryl Ely, it's Brace, and but Parker got very angry talking about the future of the fair, and came out and called Brace a liar, which I've never seen a council member do to a city staff, anybody, much less a city staff member, and he was gracious. He didn't say any word. And although Mayor Kincannon did come to his defense, and say that defended his integrity, the Parker was visibly frustrated and angry about this, and she as she was about the Emerald Youth proposal. So, but as acrimonious as that was, council did vote 8-1 to approve the Muse moving over. Parker, of course, was the anti-vote there, so the Muse will be opening up a science museum in the Jacob Building several years from now, once they get the renovations complete. But if you are planning to go to the fair next month, it is in September every year. If you do go to the fair, you won't even notice anything because the Jacob Building will still be used by the fair for what the fair has intended. So, as I said, that's a done deal. You're gonna have to move forward on that. We'll go back to something that is another issue, and this has been delayed as well. It's Larson J, Commissioner Larson J's proposal to do away with the wheel tax, and he has made that proposal. He has several reasons for wanting to do away with the tax, which is a $36 levy on every vehicle registered in Knox County. When you go to register your vehicle, it's extra $36. And this has been around since the early 2000s. It was passed in part. One of the promises made when it passed was it would fund the construction of a new downtown library, which does not exist. It has never been built, which is one of the reasons that Jay thinks this is a bad deal, that the tax is a bad deal, that there were all these broken promises, that was the main reason for the tax being instituted, which was true. It was also talked about as a revenue stream for a new justice center that, if those with long memories remember, was proposed for the State Street site where there's now an apartment building,
Marble Alley,
and so that obviously wasn't built either. So Jay said that he also objects to it because it is regressive, which is true, very much so. I mean, it doesn't matter about the value of the car, whatever. It's just the fact that it's a car. I pay the same wheel tax on my 19-year-old beater Kia that Seth pays on his sleek, brand new Lamborghini with the gold wheels. So
platinum wheels. They're platinum wheels. So
platinum
don't
wheels.
undersell.
Excuse me. I don't know these things because I don't run in the same with the same rarefied crowd that you normally do. But that is the case. A brand new vehicle that is very expensive, $60,000 vehicle gets taxed the same as a $5,000 beater. He has proposed phasing that tax out over a 3-year period. The first year would be next fiscal year. We got to get these numbers straight because they're very important in a minute. The 25-26 fiscal year, which begins next July 1st, that's when it would start. And it $4 would come off of that the first year, then $16 the next year, and the last $16 the third year, and it would completely go away. Now, one of the things that this tax, the primary thing that this tax funds, is the library system. Makes up about 87% of the library budget. And they would have to make up that money primarily from the general fund.
Right, and there's been a lot of concern from people who see this as, oh no, they're going to cut the libraries, and Jay says no, right? He says they can cover it through other revenue streams.
Yeah, the one of the main it would end up, and I've talked to Chris Caldwell, the chief financial officer for the county. It would essentially no longer have its own fund. They would have to have to just fund it out of the general fund, and the which is just your regular tax funds, sales tax, property tax, yada yada. The money would have to come from there. One of the reasons that Jay says this is a good time to do it is that the county is going from a 4-year and sometimes 5-year reappraisal cycle for property taxes to a 2-year cycle. If you want to get in the weeds on this, we could. I don't think we should. We've talked about it before, but what this does is it does mean an additional $9 million in revenue for the county.
Right. If you assume that property values continue to increase sort of like from now until forever, then if you reappraise every 2 years rather than every 4, you're capturing those new valuations more quickly. You're not waiting as long to get them.
Okay, we will go into the weeds. The real reason, the main benefit, though, is personal property taxes. Because the way that it's set up now, if you're on a 4-year cycle, the first 2 years of the cycle, you report your personal property every year, and instead of every 4 years, the way that real property is assessed. But after 2 years, if you're reporting personal property, you get a big discount, and it's that way for personal property. It's that way for utilities. They pay payments in lieu of taxes for utilities. They get a big discount as well. If you go to a 2-year cycle, that discount goes away, so they never get a discount. So this does actually raise taxes on businesses a little bit, but it does provide an additional $9 million a year in revenue for the county. There's that. They also recently raised the mining severance tax, which is a per ton levy on minerals like zinc and limestone that are mined in Knox County. That money goes to engineering and public works, which also receives a little bit of money from the wheel tax. So that kind of is a wash there. But the main thing is those property taxes that they're going to be able to keep when the discount goes away, which will start in another year or so. And then the what they call natural growth. More people move here, more people buy houses. There's more economic activity, and so that always and has sustained Knox County for the last 20 years without actually longer than that now, 25 years, without a property tax increase. So Jay says with that combination will pay for this. One of the things that this was last Monday, there was a finance committee meeting in which Chris Caldwell, the finance director, or chief financial officer, did talk about the county's finances in detail. And then there was what they call the agenda review meeting, which is where they discussed the wheel tax proposal, because Jay was going to put it on the agenda for this coming Monday's meeting. One of the things that Caldwell, two things. Caldwell said, our revenues are really tight in the next few years. I mean, one example of that is the county mayor's office wanted to give county employees a raise this year, general government employees a raise. They only got a raise for half the year. Beginning in January, they'll be getting a small raise, but they're not getting it. That the full benefit of that raise until the next year. So money's tight as is, and in the coming years, the debt is going to swell because they've got balloon notes that were issued in the early 2000s that are coming due. They've been paying interest only on them for years and years and years, and now they got to pay the principal. You always end up having to pay the principal. So,
well, and I think that's one of the things that, and I know this was expressed by some of the commissioners on Monday, that's one of the things that feels a little odd about Jay's proposal, is that the conversation, including from Jay, about county finances for the last many years has not been about the county having too much money. Yeah. It has been about the county already being very stretched as far as its revenues go and its ability to pay for, basic infrastructure upkeep and that kind of thing, and about this looming sort of debt payment cliff that they're about to go over. And so it does feel like an odd time to be talking about taking away revenues, although of course we should also note that the timing is no doubt influenced by next year's county mayor election, in which Jay is one of the leading candidates.
Yes, and I think that he is positioning himself as a tough on taxes Republican, which, he is a Republican. He's running the Republican primary against Betsy Henderson and maybe more. There's still plenty of time for someone to join the race. Anyway, he voted against the increase in the severance tax, which he was the only one to vote against it. It was one of those few taxes where the taxed entities, the mining companies, were all fine with it. And it's a very small amount of money. But he voted against that. And one of the timing of this is going to be really interesting. If assuming they vote to do this, which is not a done deal. Even the Republicans on the some of the Republicans on the commission question this. Rhonda Lee for one, Terry Hill for one, and Angela Russell really question this. But the debt right now is about the debt service is about $82 million a year right now. By the 2028-29 fiscal year, which would begin in July of 2028, that will balloon to $98.9 million. So basically $100 million in debt. Debt service per year. That's the amount you pay. So it's $100 million a year, and it will stay at that level through fiscal year 2033-34, which is 5 years of paying almost $100 million or $100 million a year in debt service. A little less than 10% of the budget, and that's non-negotiable. You got to pay that first, and now after that it drops off the cliff. But they'll be assuming they don't borrow any more money, and these payments would stay the same, assuming they don't borrow more money. So now Jay said that because this will be phased in during the 26, 27, 28, 29 fiscal years, that it's going to be done before this hits. Well, this is going to start to hit the very year that the wheel tax would go away. So that revenue stream disappears just as the debt is growing.
Then you don't have to only make up for the things that are currently funded by it. You got to make up for those and then also find a way to pay that extra debt service every year. Right,
and that's what Angela Russell was questioning.
Who's an accountant, I believe.
Yes, and she's a very conservative accountant, and she questioned that. Other council, and I mentioned the other commissioners who did as well, although the debt was her big issue. Others, it was different. Lee was just the general budget situation overall, so much like McKenzie when on at Tuesday's city council meeting, Jay I think read the room and decided, and he posted on the commission's publicly accessible online forum, posted the next day that, I'm going to hold off. And Terry Hill, Commissioner Hill, had made this suggestion to him during the meeting. He's going to wait until the budget discussions in the spring, for the budget discussions for the next fiscal year in the spring, when the financial situation, the short-term financial situation, especially for the county, will be in clearer focus. So he's going to wait on that and see what happens then. Of course, what will also be happening then is the race for Knox County mayor will be heating up. So
I was going to say that timing actually is not bad at all for Jay from a political standpoint, because he'll be in the midst of a presumably competitive Republican primary with that election that'll be held in August of next year. And so just this moves this whole discussion where Jay will presumably be out there championing, cutting this tax, whether it passes or not. He can be making headlines in Compass and the News Sentinel and wherever else as the guy who's calling for this just a couple of months before the Republican primary.
Absolutely. So it does work out real well for Jay. As you said, is timing wise, and really on a political, just a purely political level, it doesn't matter whether it passes or not,
right?
Because he is championing it. Now, of course, the other thing is Betsy Henderson, who is his only opponent so far in the Republican primary, has already said that she, isn't going to raise taxes, doesn't like taxes. She'd be on board with it too. So but he's the one who's actually on county commission, who is actually doing something. Henderson can cheerlead from the sidelines all she wants, but he's the one who's actually on the
school
field.
board doesn't get a vote on this.
Yes, school board does not.
Right, because he can run on record, she can run on what she thinks about it. And
right.
There's a bottom line difference to those two things when it comes down to the public's opinion.
Right. Speaking of elections, early voting ended on Thursday. We don't have the final figures on turnout yet. This is Friday morning. By the time you listen to this, those numbers will be out. And if you are a Compass subscriber, you will know exactly what they are. But they shouldn't change a whole lot as far as the overall turnout, which is dismal. Let's just face it. With 1 day left in early voting, it was about 6% of the registered voters in the city of Knoxville who can vote in this election. That is 5 of the 6 districts. The 5th district isn't on the ballot, isn't voting, but 6 of those who can vote in this election, only 6% have voted early, which is a pretty dismal thing. Now, it is within reach that they will match 2021's early voting numbers. Depends on turnout on the final day. Turnout has been heavier as the early voting period is coming to an end. That usually happens. And so if they have a third consecutive record-breaking day, record-breaking for this year only, day at the polls on Thursday, then they could match the 2021 turnout numbers, which weren't good anyway. It wasn't like, it was better than some years, better than 2019, which was really terrible.
I think the question here is, are we going to break 10,000 total votes?
Probably
by a couple,
but
not in early voting.
In early voting. No,
total voting.
No, about a little fewer than 5,000 people had voted with 1 day to go in early voting.
Okay.
the last couple of days of the early voting before then, Tuesday and Wednesday of last week, closer to average of 500 or so voted early. So if we get another 500, and Jesse is checking right now to see if the election commission has posted those numbers.
I'll tell you in just a second.
As early voting's become more normal, it's become a higher percentage.
I mean, it's a good rule of thumb is roughly half.
Right.
So 5,000 and change voting early.
So we'll get 10,000 and a little bit total.
10,000. You likely to get 10,000.
And I do recall looking at some of the numbers, 96 or so.
We do not have the numbers for August 21st yet. So.
All right, good. Then you would have shown me up if you'd have said, "Oh yeah, but Scott,
we are at exactly 4,980 early and absentee votes through August 20th."
Yes, and anyway, so that's the early turnout. You've got election day coming up. Now remember, this is the primary. In the city primaries, you can have any number of candidates. The top two finishers in the primaries go on to the general election. So, and because the election has changed, the process has changed, that's a state law, a change in state law, the general election is district voters only, each race. Previously, it's been the general election has been citywide on all these races. So the exact same people this exact same pool of voters for the primary will be voting in the general election. That is, of course, some races we've got the 3rd district and the 1st district. That's Northwest and South Knoxville have 4 candidates each. The 6th district, East Knoxville and downtown, has 5 candidates. So the top 2 finishers in all of those will go on to the general election. The 2nd district and the 4th district only have 2 candidates each. So both of them in each race are guaranteed to go on to the general election.
Yes, and just to avoid any confusion or to avoid an email from former Mayor Victor Ashe, who keeps pointing this out to us every time we say there's only 2 candidates in the 4th district. Yeah. There is a 3rd candidate on the ballot in the 4th district, Jane George, but she is withdrawn from the race. She may still pick up a couple of votes here and there.
Yeah.
But the 2 active candidates, Jeff Tallman and Matthew DeBartoleben, are essentially guaranteed to go into the general.
Yeah. Thanks, Victor. And actually, thanks, Jane. Jane George withdrew after qualifying and getting on the ballot. So don't know why she withdrew. Personal reasons. Really don't blame her, but it's one of those things, little things that kind of pop up from time to time. Anyway, those candidates, either DeBartoleben or Jeff Tallman in the 4th district, which is North Knoxville, east of Broadway, all the way over to Holston Hills, and West Knoxville in the 2nd district. Those races are essentially, instead of being the elimination round, the primary is just kind of halftime.
Mm-hmm.
You see how where you stand at the end of the primary, whether if you've got a lead, you've gone off to a good start, you can build on that. Or if you didn't, if you came in second, you can know where to
which precincts you might want to try to beef up.
Yes, absolutely. So and it's not indicative. I mean, even if you win by a pretty decent margin in the primary lead, you don't win in the primary. If you lead in the primary by a certain a pretty good margin, there's enough time, it's 6 weeks or so, where you can the person who comes in second can make up the difference. You can just point to what was it, 2020 or 2019, when 2 candidates in an at-large race, which obviously as an at-large races, the entire city would vote in the primary, and the entire city would vote in the general election. So you had the same pool voters, just like you do now within the district races. But Lynn Fugate was finished first in a 2-person primary over Charles Lomax Jr. by a pretty decent margin. By the time the general election rolled around, Lomax had made up that ground and came within 90 votes or so of actually winning. So it can, the winner or the leader in a primary race isn't guaranteed to win in the general election, even with the same voting pool. A lot of people will wait until the general election in those districts, perhaps, because they know that it's not definitive. Although those two districts tend to have the heaviest turnout, and at the halfway point of the early voting period, which is the last time we have these figures, again, they had heavier turnout than the other districts.
I think the other factor to keep in mind with the November election is there will be the sales tax increase referendum on the ballot as well, and that might pull some people out who are not coming out to vote in the primaries. So that's another thing that is going to be in the mix.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. The most of the candidates who are running, of course, these candidates have nothing to do with it. I mean, their vote on the sales tax referendum counts as much as yours or mine. If the winners take office after this referendum is over, the only thing they could do is, if it passes, they would have to approve spending the revenues. That's it. So, but nonetheless, they get asked about it, and rightly so. And we've asked about all of them. In fact, I got a press release from Frank Ramey just last night about
third district candidate.
Yes, he's running in the 3rd district, and which is Northwest Knoxville, and he's against the sales tax referendum. So, but and most of the candidates in the running are against it. We've got a couple that are for it to a certain degree. Of course, they all. One of the things about a sales tax referendum that is always good for a politician is that the people actually vote on it. So if it passes, like the last time the city tried the last time the city raised the sales tax, which was under the Victor Ashe's administration, it did pass. A referendum did pass. If it does pass, and you talk to an anti-tax constituent, you can say, well, the people voted for it.
Right. Yes. And that's really all you have to say as a candidate running is,
my hands are clean.
Hey, we're going to see what people think about it.
Yeah, and which is what most of the city council members, the current city council members, said when they voted to put it on the ballot. Well, we'll let the people decide. And which is quite a bit of relief to them. But anyway, and if people do come out just because of the sales tax referendum, it's probably people who are going to vote against it.
Yeah.
So
I know that's what I was thinking, is that the voting population could be a little bit different in November.
It could be, although this is the city election. This is a turnout is always terrible. It will it's one of those things where you might get 1 or 2 people in each precinct to come out because of the sales tax referendum, which adds up to
a couple hundred here and there.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of fun.
Maybe 100. So it's not everything's relative when you talk about the city.
Well, it's kind of fun too, because we can kind of extrapolate it, because we'll have the District 5 voters that are only voting on that.
Right.
Like me.
And
it's the only thing I get to vote on this year.
Well, yeah.
We could kind of extrapolate and say, well, this many people came out in District 5, and, comparing previous elections and stuff like that, well, we feel like the vote for the tax thing brought this many more people out than we've seen in the past.
There'll definitely be fun analysis to do after
although most of the people, not all, most of the people in District 5 who will go out and vote, because that will be the only thing on the ballot in November for District 5
Right.
people is the sales tax referendum, because their council representative seat is not up this year. But those who turn out to vote in the 5th district are people who probably would have voted in a regular election, where it has candidates and all
Right.
for their representatives. So might not be, it's not the people that we're talking about with the that the wheel tax or the sales tax would bring out are the people who wouldn't vote in normally, but are wanting to make sure that they don't have to pay extra in sales taxes. So anyway, election day, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But in keeping with the election theme, this fella came through Knoxville last week named John Rose, and I sat down and talked to him, and he is actually a member of Congress from Middle Tennessee who is running for governor. He is a Republican. He was born in Cookeville, lives, I believe, in Smith County now. He's got a farm out there. He's a farmer and businessman, and
and entrepreneur who is also one
when I
of
say
the richest
businessman,
members of Congress.
When I say businessman, I mean a businessman who sold his first business for $60 million 25 years ago, and has another business he's running now. They're both IT businesses. He's done very well for himself for just the country farm. But Congressman Rose is running for governor in the Republican primary against Senator Marsha Blackburn. And can I make a little light of John Rose and his name recognition. His name recognition statewide is terrible. It's he admits it's only in the teens. He is serving his 4th term representing the 6th congressional district. Now that's a big district because most of it's rural, although it is one of the districts that was gerrymandered to eliminate the possibility of a Democrat representing Nashville.
Teeny little piece of it reaches in and takes out a chunk of Nashville.
So he's got a piece of Nashville, the northeastern corner of the city and county, and Davidson County, which is, it's all one entity. From there to Scott County, and Cumberland County, and right at the edge of the Cumberland Plateau. That's how far it stretches. Kentucky. The Kentucky line down south of Van Buren County. So it's a big chunk of Middle Tennessee, geographically anyway. The other than that part of Nashville, I guess the biggest town in the district would be Cookeville. Anyway, he is running against Blackburn. He, like Blackburn, is a staunch supporter of President Donald Trump. There's going to be some difficulty if you're looking for an ideological reason to if you're a Republican and you're looking for an ideological reason to vote for one or the other. That's going to be difficult. Both are very much supportive of President Trump. Rose was one of the Republicans in the House who voted not to certify the 2020 election. He says it's there were too many irregularities in 6 states and their outcome that they had a responsibility.
It's the same thing our own Congressman Tim Burchett said.
It is, and he said that there were two. Although the courts in those states didn't have a problem with them.
It's not a very good argument.
No. Well, I mean, the whole argument is it's a states' rights argument that the states run, and the states do run their elections, and if your argument is that states have a right to do that, then the state courts have the right to interpret the state law.
And if your real objection is just that state happened to vote the way that you didn't want them to,
got that.
It wasn't exactly a coincidence that all the states this group of Republican Congress people decided had not conducted their elections well also happened to have voted for Joe Biden in 2020.
Yes. Yeah, and So there was that another controversial vote that he did that would be kind of in keeping a little bit with the Trump the president's views was right after the January 6th insurrection, the Congress passed House passed Congress did all Congress did to award the Congressional Gold Medal to the Capitol Police who protected the Capitol during the, I don't know what you want to call it, the riot, the attack, whatever it wasn't. It wasn't a tour. I will tell you that. I watched it on TV like most of us did. It was no guided tour of the Capitol, but they wanted to award that to the Capitol Police. He voted against that. He said it was too premature, and I did ask him. I said, "Well, it's been a few years. What do you think now?" And he said, "Well, he'd be more inclined to vote now, but he was just more inclined. He wasn't definite about it. I mean, he still thinks that there's unanswered questions about informants and stuff from the FBI who might have been in the crowd and all that." So,
I mean, it seems
one thing that was really funny, and it was we were talking about the events that day, and about the Capitol Police, and he said yes, and I said, "Were you there? You were there, right?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "I didn't feel unsafe. They took us, we were surrounded by 20 or 30 Capitol Police officers with automatic weapons, and when we left and went through the crowd, and I think he realized that made them sound pretty good, and that he felt safe because
those were the officers
because
who
of the officers
not to recognize.
Because he immediately said, "Yeah, but we did see all the people in the Capitol, and they weren't really rioting or anything. They weren't setting fires and spray painting the building or anything, and it wasn't." He thought that the September character, he doesn't think that it should be characterized as an insurrection. He thinks that it's a little overblown to do that. That's his word. And anyway, so ideologically, he is one with Trump, as is Blackburn. So ideologically speaking, they're the same. Well, the big difference is name recognition. Blackburn has near universal name recognition. Beacon Center did a poll recently. She's got a 54% lead over percentage point lead over Rose among likely voters in the Republican Party. So it is he's got a long road to hoe there, to use a farming metaphor for a farmer.
Well, it seems like his main argument is that he has executive experience and Blackburn doesn't, and the governor's an executive role.
That is his thing. Is I've run a business. I've run at least two businesses. But he's got all this executive experience. That's what he does. Legislators don't do that. Marsha Blackburn has been primarily a legislator her entire life. Adult life, so he's got that experience. The only thing that Blackburn has managed during her time in Congress is a very small staff, and a very small staff that will do whatever she wants because they depend on her for everything. So Rose also has a very small staff that he manages now too, but he's also as we said, he had a $60 million company he managed. So he says that. Basically the governor of the state of Tennessee is a CEO, and he has been a CEO, is still a CEO, and that he has the experience to do that, and he's got the personal fortune to. One of the things he said was, Blackburn spent millions and millions of dollars to get reelected just last year. So, of course, people know who she is. And he said, once I spend that much money, they'll know who I am too. And he's got a valid point there. And one of he's already loaned his campaign $5 million. And my guess is he's got more he could loan. And so.
And that primary is not until August of 26. So he does have a long time to try to build that name recognition.
Time to do that. The other thing that he's done that it's almost. I had to ask him, and it seemed like he had a hard time keeping a straight face a little bit, but I did myself. But he tries to characterize himself as an outsider conservative, and that's on his website. And I asked him about that. I said, "How can you be an outsider when you're a 4-term congressman?" There was a spell where a short period of time he was the state's agriculture commissioner, which you don't get unless you're well connected. So you've got to be an insider to get that kind of appointment. And once you've been a Congress member for 4 terms, you're an insider as well.
Well, especially if you're moving in lockstep with the administration.
Yeah.
Like,
so
where's the outside part of this equation?
And he kind of grinned and was saying, "Well, yeah, relatively speaking, I'm an outsider."
He lives outside of Nashville.
He lives outside of Nashville, and he said that he's not been a career politician. He did have that years of being solely an entrepreneur and business owner, and so that is. But that is kind of interesting. He one of his ways to differentiate himself from Blackburn is, hey, I'm an outsider. The implication being that she's an insider. So anyway, it was interesting to talk to Rose. I had never met him before, had never laid eyes on him before. I'd seen pictures of him. He's a lot of people in East Tennessee don't know who he is and are just now getting to know him. If you subscribe to Compass, you've at least been introduced to him. And I'm sure we will be hearing and seeing a lot more from Rose in the coming months as that campaign moves forward. And that is all we have time for to talk about from last week. There's a lot of stuff. It was
that Chilhowie Park stuff was pretty involved, and obviously it is not all resolved.
It was involved. It's not resolved. We'll talk about it a little next week, I'm sure, about the town hall, and then the week after that, we'll be able to talk about the vote, assuming that it goes forward, and so. So Chilhowie Park will be part of the discussion for the next few weeks. So, that was the news that was last week. The news that will be this week, we will be covering. There is a county commission voting meeting this Monday. It will not have, as we said, Larson Jay's proposal to repeal the wheel tax. And to be quite honest, there's not a whole lot that looks to be divisive and controversial coming up on the agenda. There's some things about commission rules, some of the ethics rules and things like that are some adjustments to that. But it's not. If you're looking for sweeping changes to what is going on with Knox County government, you probably won't find them this Monday. But we will be there. In case something does pop up. That meeting's at 5:00 on Monday at the City County Building in the main assembly room. The Chilhowie Park Town Hall, as we said, will be at 6:00, 6 to 8 p.m. On Monday, same day, so you can't go to both. But it's a city thing, so if people who live in the city might want to go to that town hall meeting, it will be at the Los Portales Event Center at 4505 Asheville Highway in East Knoxville. Gwen McKenzie's hosting. Mayor Indy Kincannon will be there. I'm sure there will be people from Emerald Youth Foundation there to talk about what they want to do. As we mentioned earlier, we don't know the format, but there probably will. We would assume there would be an opportunity for people to talk to city officials about their concerns, objections, preferences about that almost 13-acre piece of property in Burlington that is part of the Chilhowie Park and Exhibition Center. So then, of course, Tuesday, Election Day in the city of Knoxville. So those of you who are city residents, who are registered to vote in the city, who have not voted in early voting, you do have the opportunity over a 12-hour period on Tuesday to vote in the city primary. There are 5 council seats on the ballot. Of course, each individual person to go, you only have 1. It's a district representative spot, so you'll be only voting for the person in your district. It should take you a blink of an eye to vote. It will take you longer to go through and verify that you are a registered voter in that precinct than it will to actually mark the ballot and vote.
To fill out that one little
box. So all you got to do is fill out one little box to do your civic duty. Anyway, polls will be open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. If there is a line, I doubt it because turnout has been bad. If there is a line and you're in line by 8 o'clock, you will still be able to vote. If you're not in line by 8 o'clock, too bad. You'll have to wait for the general election. Anyway, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If your polling place is in a school, please remember that schools will be open. You might want to go after school hours to vote, or if you do go during school hours, remember that there will be students present. They are school zones, so don't speed. If you go during school hours, you're not about to miss the vote. So you're not gonna miss out on voting. So go slow, watch for the kids. Anyway, if you don't know where to vote, because voting is only done in your precinct on Tuesday. If you don't know, you can go to knoxvotes.org. That's the Election Commission website. You can put in there's a search function there. You can put in your address. They will tell you then what your precinct is and where you go vote. And again, once again, a reminder, people who live in the 5th District, which is essentially North Knoxville, west of Broadway, before you get to Clinton Highway in that area over there, the Norwood area there. Some of it's in the 5th District, some of it's in the 3rd District. Anyway, if you're in the 5th District, you do not vote tomorrow or Tuesday. You will vote in the general election. That's when the sales tax referendum's on there, but you won't vote on Tuesday. We do encourage everyone who is registered and who has not cast a ballot to go ahead and do so. So I will do so. I always wait, or just about always wait till Election Day to vote, and have done so again this year. So, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, I will be casting my ballot in North Knoxville on Tuesday. So, I want to thank Jesse for coming by again.
Happy to be here.
Helping out on the podcast. Many thanks to Lord Seth Barber, and who is, as we've mentioned before, our producer, engineer, and
all around super rich guy.
And all around super rich guy. Yeah, we're hoping to be named in his will. So, and speaking of wills, Will Wright is the extraordinary musician who's provided our music for Compass Points, and we'll be saying so long for now. We'll be back next week with another installment of Compass Points.
CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more. And many thanks to William Wright for composing our theme song. Compass Points is a partnership of Barking Shark Media and Barbarian Productions, and recorded by Lord Seth A. Barber at Barbarian Studios, Knoxville, Tennessee.